Hello, and welcome to a Lenten Pause, a series of devotions that I am doing this Lent focused on a different psalm each week. I am Jane Rowe. I'm pastor at South Church in New Britain, Connecticut, and I am delighted to have you join me today. Today we are reading the most familiar of all psalms, and it is always challenging when you are reading a familiar text to hear it in a new way. So I'm going to begin by reading this psalm from a version that might not be as familiar to you. This is the New Revised Standard Version. And perhaps some slightly different wordings will help you to hear something you hadn't heard before. And then I hope to point something out to you that I heard for the first time, this time of reading it. Let us hear the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Each time I read this psalm, I seek to hear anew the message that it promises. And as I prepared this psalm this week, I learned something that I had not known before. There are 55 words, Hebrew words, that make up this psalm. And the word that is at the very center of this psalm is the word you. It's the moment when the psalm shifts from speaking of God in the third person. The Lord is my shepherd, he makes me lie down, he leads me. The third person references to God. And the direct first person address to God. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. That you is the very center point of this psalm. And the psalmist's poetry is very skilled and intentional. There are many other examples of that, but this being pointed out to me makes me think that the psalmist is trying to point us toward that word in the middle. You are with me. Through whatever I'm going through in life, you, God, are with me. You are shepherding me, leading me, following me, guiding me, providing for me, comforting me. You are with me. It's not unusual for me to hear people speak about feeling alone. And I think that we all can relate to that feeling through some experience or other that we have had in this life. And maybe it is a pervasive feeling in our lives, that feeling of being alone. But at the center of this psalm is the promise, you are not alone because God is with you. And the more we can directly speak to God with that promise, you are with me, God. You are with me. I think the closer we can come to that sense of peace and reassurance that we are not alone, no matter what dark valley we are going through, even the valley of the shadow of death. We need not be afraid. We need not feel that God has abandoned us, for God is providing for us. We need to open our eyes and our hearts to see how. I invite you to hear this beloved psalm again. This time I'm going to say it in the King James Version that many of us know by heart. And in the King James, that you becomes thou. One of my colleagues tells me that in the, Shakespearean era of English, the King James, that the King James Bible was translated into, thou was actually a familiar way to address a person. To us, it sounds like a very formal way, but it actually was the more familiar and intimate way to speak to someone. And so when you hear it this time in the King James, hear thou as that center point, that intimate connection with God who is with you, for you are not alone. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thanks be to God.